Architect.
To accept, press 1. To send a voice.
Good evening, or good afternoon, sir, actually. Good evening. I'm used to be
DJ, what's up, buddy?
on night shift. What's up, bro? Give me 1 second. I had to reboot all this shit here. One moment.
Yeah, no worries, man. I seen you dealing with some technical difficulties.
Yeah, like crazy. Like crazy. What's up, man? How you doing? Good stuff, by the way.
I'm good,
video.
man. Had a busy morning, but how you been?
I've been better, but we just keep trucking, keep moving along. It's been great. It's been a great positive week. So, it's up and up.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Sometimes there's potholes. You just gotta keep trucking. But amazing stuff, man. I like that video that you came out with. I was showing everybody last night. Everybody was even talking about it before we even got into it. Very cool, man. Very cool. Appreciate your hard
Thanks,
work.
man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm more of like a visual learner. So for me, the PCA, not only that, but the way the PCA was written is in like sections, all scattered out. It's not in order. So it was easier for me to sort of put it all together in a visualization. So like I actually have a Google Earth project I can send you that's got like all the details. So if you click on all of those little those points, those data points that you see, the different time frames, in the Google Earth thing in the project, if you click it, it shows all the details. So I put like the portion of the PCA that's in there, and I put
nice.
like more pictures and things like that. So I could shoot that over to you.
Yeah, and we definitely got to get you on panel here soon, man, because I'd love to be able to have you on, and then we can kind of screen share a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, man, next week for sure.
Yeah, that's going to be
I
awesome.
ordered a mic, so
hell yeah,
we should be good to go next week.
That's going to be awesome. And definitely go sub to the Architect on YouTube. I'm going to share that link with you guys. And I've been noticing you've been putting out some tweets too. I'm going to share the Twitter as well. So what do you think about all this stuff that's going on when it comes to all these different changes in the hearings and the dates and the times and excluded and not excluded and all these different things? I mean, there's a lot of shit that's going on. Not only shit that's going on, but shit that just constantly changes. I mean, it's hard to keep up anymore.
Yeah, definitely. The scheduling orders is kind of tricky because I don't know, it happens all the time in like big cases like this. Like you'll get different reasons for the scheduling, so it's kind of hard to say what that's about or why that happened. But as far as the documents that came out from the state, that's the one that kind of raised my eyebrow when I saw it, because they were essentially waiving their right to cross-examine both witnesses,
Right.
which is weird because they sent the FBI to go see Ms. Vargas. So it makes you wonder what she said to them that makes them sort of back off, or if they were just simply asking questions off the record. I don't know.
I don't know,
I have
man.
no idea what that interaction was about or why they decided to back off of it.
I think it was because she was allowing holes to be exposed on the prosecution side. I mean, the stuff she was answering from the prosecution was like, whoa, wait a minute, are you answering for the prosecution or are you answering for the defense? The defense. And it was like the stuff that she was saying, I don't know. I have to watch it again because I was curious. Was it when she was talking up on the witness stand? Was it hearsay or was she actually part of?
She was speaking as if she knew firsthand that there were ways that law enforcement circumvent the legalities.
Yeah.
And one of the ways that she mentioned was that they, if they log into the site or the databases using their ID that identifies them as law enforcement, they can only see a certain portion of that the population. If they logged in as a regular user, apparently they could see everything. So she was saying that essentially that's what law enforcement would do to circumvent the laws behind it.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely sounded like, yeah. I mean, hell, even the documents that we read last night, when it was where they wanted to the documents that talk about that other case. I forget the exact title of it. We were kind of reading through that last night, and it was crazy because that was taking place. The same thing about how they obtained the profile and certain things that they didn't want to include because they didn't feel it was part of the discoverable evidence, and how they didn't really have a secret grand jury, but they kind of like snuck some shit in that other case from Canyon County. And it was pretty interesting read through because you were reading through it and seeing how shit was playing out, and it's like, holy shit, this is almost like a script of what's taking place.
Yeah, I
I
caught that
feel
last night when
what it feels
when you guys were going through it with Yoli. I saw that.
Yeah, definitely. It was like, is that the playbook? Is that, is that where we're coming from? And it makes you wonder, like, even in that paperwork, they were stating that some of the stuff, when it comes to what was being requested, couldn't be supplied or offered because they didn't have the availability to acquire that information because of higher agencies. And so is that
Yeah.
what's taking place in this case too? Is there a reason that they can't say anything about the other DNA? How it like have you ever heard, like, when it comes to DNA and being not qualified, I was assuming that the DNA wasn't qualified because maybe it was mixed with too much other DNA and you couldn't
That's one of the
separate it.
reasons for sure.
But then when we're watching
Yeah,
CC Moore and then this other person, they're talking about how that's why Ellie comes to them, is because the DNA is mixed. In one of the instances, is because it is mixed together so much, so they do reach out to those laboratories to try and generate a profile. Um, so
well,
it's
from
like,
my
okay,
understanding of what CC was saying, I could be mistaken here, but what I interpreted it as, like, law enforcement, they typically reach out to these IgG, companies or whatever to identify partial, like when they find a partial DNA sample that they can't build a profile off of, they'll send it that way. Sometimes when the DNA is mixed, I'm assuming maybe they get a portion. So they send, it's not a full match, so they'll or a full profile, so they'll send it to an IgG lab and have them create that profile. Maybe that's what she was referring to, but I know that one of the reasons that was stated in that little list that I had was that they said that if the DNA wasn't a single source, that could be a potential reason as to why it was not qualified. But I don't know. In my opinion, like, how hard is it just to run the test? You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't you rather know than speculate?
Right. And what differentiates BK's DNA to these other individuals, 3 to 5, whatever? What differentiates the DNA from what's on the sheath? Then, so who's to say that these other DNA that obviously is different than BK's, because BK's was able to have a profile, it was qualified, obviously. So who's to say that wasn't accidental? And like I said, the sheath could have been tossed on a sweater that BK wore that was sitting in the back seat of a car. You know what I mean? But this other DNA that wasn't qualified, who says that's not the DNA of the people that committed the damn crime?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't understand. Like, they haven't explained how they were able to rule them out definitively. It's like, well, if you didn't test the profiles, how would you know? Either way.
How do you know?
How could you rule out? Yeah. If you don't have an idea of who this profile belongs to, then I don't understand how you could rule it out.
And it was in there. So, and if you already interviewed all these people,
Well, yeah, and according to the defense, these DNA profiles were found, in the vicinity of these victims. So it's kind of like the verbiage in that statement is alluding to their relevancy. Like they're saying it's relevant to the murders because of where the DNA was found. At least that's the defendant's claim.
And then you have BF having exculpatory evidence. Well, there's so many like why are they only focused on one individual? You know, because they just want to get it over
Yeah,
and done with and move past
the
it, like they
BF
want to
stuff,
tear the
man.
house.
The BF stuff is really, really intriguing to me because I'm curious as to what she could possibly say that's exculpatory. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Like the only thing I could think of is that maybe she contradicts the description that DM is giving. Like maybe she saw an individual that wasn't a Caucasian, or she saw an individual that had, blonde hair or something like that,
Yeah.
So
like,
it's possible.
I mean,
but it's also the defense's view too. So I'd be curious to see what she actually has to say.
Well, I look at it like this. In the PCA, she's stated in being in the bottom floor. You have a room that's facing the parking lot, the exit of the property. You have a window and a door. Like I wouldn't be damn surprised if, because who knows what kind of communication was taking place, right? While that stuff was going on, while DM's upstairs, BF's downstairs.
Yeah.
Who knows what kind of communication's going on? Who's to say that after, DM maybe text her, hey, I just saw them. They're by the sliding glass door or something. Who's to say BF wasn't looking and peeping out the exit of the property? And maybe that's the exculpatory evidence. It doesn't fit the description.
Yeah.
Of
and like
such
you mentioned,
person.
She did face that. Her room faced that parking lot. So there's a chance that maybe she saw a different colored vehicle or a different type of vehicle fleeing,
Right.
Maybe that's why they kept it out of the PCA. I mean, this is all speculation, obviously.
Right, of course.
Trying to understand what she could possibly say, I mean, that's really the only things I could think of, because if she happened to see, like, let's say, how Enan Harsh, he mentioned that black SUV. What if BF said something like, I saw that SUV flying out of here at 420, you know what I mean? And they left that out of the PCA because that's potentially exculpatory. It doesn't fit their narrative. So that could potentially, like, it could be something along those lines where she saw something that contradicts what's in the PCA and they chose to leave it out for that particular reason.
And that's why they were pushing so hard to try and get her to get an interview, because they wanted to, okay, if that is the case, a different vehicle was leaving the property, when the crime.
Well, look at what she did when they first subpoenaed her for the interview. I mean, she immediately went to quash it. You know what I mean? Like, she didn't want any parts of it. And giving her the benefit of the doubt, I can understand both sides of the argument, right? Like, I can understand why she wouldn't want to go out and give evidence that potentially exonerates when you've got all of these family members 100% convinced. Yeah, so she doesn't want to be that person.
She don't want the backlash.
Or she feels like there's some sort of legal ramifications that might come from what she has to say.
Wow.
So I mean, those are really the only two reasons why I could see an attorney being like, we're not touching this,
I'd be afraid of the legal ramifications for the 8-hour delay in the first place before anything else, because what...
I would too, but if
I don't know, what
can you... attorney...
Yeah.
Well, if
how can you explain an 8-hour gap,
Yeah, if I have a decent attorney, I'm expecting them to set up some sort of immunity deal before I even speak on anything. That way there's absolutely no chance that I'm going to be charged for obstruction of justice or whatever I might say,
Yeah, for sure.
And I would assume that in a situation like this, they'd probably grant it to her.
Yeah, because I feel she's gonna be a witness that, just as strong as DM. But I don't know. There's a reason why I think a lot of her stuff wasn't used for any of this, this apprehension and everything that's kind of taken place so far. I think there's a reason for it. And
there's a lot of people that seem to think that the statements that DM gave are like hardcore facts, when in actuality they're cherry picked quotes that Payne decided to pull,
Yeah.
and we don't understand the full context of what she's stating. So she might have said bushy eyebrows in regards to something completely different, you know, like not saying not him. It was description towards him, but it could have been in a completely different context that he just chose to take that one line out.
It's kind of, I've always thought it was one of them things, like who says that was even her first statement? Who says it wasn't a third statement? Who says it wasn't over the phone?
Yeah, they were interviewed multiple times.
You know what I mean?
So true.
And
true, we don't know.
You look at the verbiage, bushy eyebrows comes up again in the documentation, and so it's like, okay, well, you didn't have to say bushy eyebrows in that part, so now you start to question the bushy eyebrows from DM's statement, and then it makes you wonder, was this maybe a third statement that was over the phone where somebody's asking her?
Yeah,
did they have
a lot of the like, for me, the sequence in which they're putting the quotes, is that accurate? You know, like, do we know, like when she says like she heard Xana crying or whoever it was, you know, like, and she heard Kaylee playing with the dog, like they're not specific as to which order this happened in. They just sort of put it as quotes in the, you know, like individual quotes inside the PCA, but without the full context of the story and understanding how A got to B, it's hard to determine what they're really saying.
Yeah, it could be, you know, it could, because, you know, who knows? Maybe it was one of them things where it's like, yeah, I just saw a person, they had a mask on, all I could see was their eyes. Okay. Is there any certain features that you can describe? Well, I don't know. Okay, what kind of eyebrows did they have? Because if you're wearing a mask, right, I could definitely see somebody asking what kind of eyebrows they had, if they had any kind of, were their eyebrows thin, were they slanted, were they bushy?
Yeah,
you know, I could definitely see somebody,
yeah.
right, somebody asking, even as an investigator, somebody asking, give me, you know, can you give me some specifics, just like you're trying to draw up a profile. So just because she said bushy eyebrows doesn't mean that's like a automatic, like, yes, the eyebrows were so bushy, that's the first thing that I noticed when they were walking through while they were wearing a mask. I could definitely see somebody asking it, and then that being
used. I mean, if you're in the dark and you're wearing a mask and the eyebrows are so bushy that's the distinctive characteristic that somebody remembers, you got to have like Fozzie Bear, or like, you know what I mean? Like,
right,
your eyebrows got to be ridiculous.
Well, there's other people that have bushy eyebrows and they're not a male, you know, so who knows? Maybe that's the person that BF saw leave. Maybe they didn't see the bushy eyebrows, but they saw that it wasn't a male, and that could have been it too.
Yeah, I've always wondered what kind of mask it was that he was wearing, or the individual was wearing, because all they state was mask, but was it like a ski mask?
What do they call that? A
like
baklava? Baklava or something?
Yeah, yeah, like what kind of, like, was this something that looked like nefarious, or was it something that, like, you know, you would see an everyday person wearing? They didn't describe the mask or the outfit, really. They just said clad in black, and I was like, well, what do you mean, like clad in, like,
I don't know. I thought medieval.
Kid is first using clad in black as a description.
I thought maybe they were watching Game of Thrones or something before they, you know, I don't know. I mean, where do you come up with that? Like clad in black. I'm thinking armor.
I mean, I've only heard law enforcement refer to that sort of description, like, or like, you know, maybe somebody writing a novel. But it's like, what? There's no kids I've ever met that's like, yeah, dude, he was dressed and clad in black. Like, no, what?
Right. Yeah. What were you watching? Yeah, like I don't even use. I've never even heard of it before. You know. So it's like, where in the hell did this come from? It's not.
Yeah, it's like one of them descriptive terms that you hear law enforcement use often, but I don't know. I've never heard kids use it.
That's why I always thought the PCA statement, that's why it always stuck out to me from the beginning, because I was like, that right there, I don't know. It seems like somebody was fishing or asking for information. It don't, like, just like with the footage, you know, shortly after the crime took place, they swooped up all the freaking footage. You know what the best footage is? It's the city streets with the lit up lights, cameras in all directions. You know damn well they went through that footage first. And if you didn't have a license plate then, come on now. you can pretty much look at the pictures that we've had, when it comes to this case, and you're going to tell me you can't put other vehicles, different vehicles, multiple different models of vehicles in those spots and tell me that that's what it is. I mean, you can literally take
Yeah, I mean
any of
that's
that footage and
circumstantial
piece it
at best.
together. Yeah.
Yeah,
Holes.
like there's no unique identifiers that we know of.
Right. Not even
And
a
you can
missing
kind of tell.
hubcap.
Yeah, like if it had like distinctive scratches or dents, or if it had like a specific sticker or something that you could
Hmm.
discern, or if it had a legible license plate, VIN number, something that makes
Come
the,
on.
the the vehicle unique to itself, to where you can't definitively this does not belong to anybody else.
Right.
With absent of that, it's all circumstantial. So they're gonna have to convince a jury that this was his path, which is another reason why I created that Google Earth simulation. Because if you notice, the time frames aren't really matching up. Like, okay, when he leaves his place, according to the PCA, when he leaves the Pullman area, they have him almost 30 minutes later at the 700 block of Indian Hills Road. Well, it's only like an 11-minute drive or something like that. So there's like a 15 to 18-minute gap that's unexplained. So if they were to see that car, and let's say within 12, anywhere between 10 and 13 minutes after that, they see the car getting off the exit and stuff like that, that's a little more understandable than a 15 to 20-minute gap. Like there's this gap in time where it's like there's a good chance that wasn't the same car that you saw leaving, as opposed to pulling out of the 700 Indian Hill Drive Road.
That's why I say, give
And
me
then
the
there's
stock
another
photo of the DeLorean, bro. Because Marty
and there's
McFly's the only
another
one I know that can do that shit.
well, yeah, and there's another huge discrepancy where they say that he pings from a tower in Blaine at 4:48. Then the PCA says he pings from another tower that's in Genesee 2 minutes later. The distance between those two cities is 11 and some change miles, right? So he would have to be traveling over 200 miles to get in that distance in 2 minutes. It's just not possible in that Hyundai. It's not possible in a Ferrari. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Just a DeLorean. That's
I
it,
don't,
man. That's it.
yeah. Now, what I will say is we don't know exactly where along that route he happened to ping off the tower. So you could give maybe 3 to 5 miles somewhere in that gap. But either way, I was doing the math and it still doesn't, like, it would still take you longer than 2 minutes, even at the southern tip of the tower, of the blast radius of the tower from Genesee to Blaine. If you built like a Venn diagram and see like just how far these two signals could reach, it's still a gap. Like you still got at least a 2 to 3 mile gap that's unaccounted for.
Mm-hmm. It makes no damn sense, man. And I appreciate you saying that, because there's a lot of people that are like, this is fact. This means that he was there. And it's like, yo.
Yeah, I think a lot of people confuse
Chill.
the PCA because it says sworn statement of facts, when in actuality it's nothing more than a theory. It's the state's theory until they substantiate it in court.
With some fuzzy
And
ass
people
puzzle
don't seem to
pieces,
realize it.
man. With some fuzzy ass puzzle pieces. You're like, okay, I see it put together, but what the fuck is it exactly? You're trying to focus on it, and shit, you can't get it in focus. It's the problem. Makes no damn
Yeah, I
sense.
mean, if you go through the PCA, there's so much stuff where they're essentially saying, from my experience, this is what I believe. And it's like, no, you're like, look at that and then look at the list, right? The list PCA. There's none of this like sort of guessing as to what was going on. They have it laid out with evidence in every step all along the way. So it's pretty clear cut what was going on. When you read Kohberger's PCA, it's got a lot of opinions. Like, in my opinion as a law officer for, however long, this is what I think, like a suspect would turn their phone off when if he's the mastermind that you claim that he is, he wouldn't have taken his phone at all, or his car. You know what I mean? So I don't understand, like, it can't be both. He's either this mastermind or he's an absolute
Right.
idiot. You can't cherry pick
It makes
which
no
attributes
sense.
you want to.
Dude, it
Yeah,
makes no sense because you're going to tell me the dude went to school for this shit. He applied for these local PDs to help them with this shit. And you're going to tell me dude forgot to leave his fucking phone at home and then drive through, right? Because you can take the route and
yeah.
you can take a back way by the airport and then kick it off a couple blocks as soon as you get to Moscow to go to the crime scene. And you're going to tell me, dude, knowing all this shit, supposedly planned, stalked, all this shit, then went and drove through down fucking town of Pullman, and not only
Past
downtown
100
of Pullman,
cameras.
downtown of Moscow, through all these fucking neighborhoods, and then got there? Like, for real. And you're going to tell me you don't have a license plate. How in the fuck do you not have a license plate if the person, I'm sorry, it doesn't go chaotic, strategic inside, and then chaotic? It doesn't happen. Name something where that takes place. That's the first time ever. First time ever, uh, unless it's manufactured like this one is. In my opinion, I feel like it was all just little bits of shit just kind of thrown in together. Like I said, it was a Christmas stocking that had a bunch of crumpled up paper. And when you're looking at it from the outside and they're saying, look, this is what I got. And you're looking at all the bulges popping out and you're like, damn, I bet it's got some Kit Kats and some Hot Wheels and all sorts of shit in there. And then when they finally start to open it up and take out what's inside of it, it's just crumpled up fucking paper. It's a
Yeah,
joke.
I mean, it's kind of like what you guys were discussing earlier. Like, if he's a mastermind, why the hell didn't he create an airtight alibi? You know, like it doesn't make any sense. Like, if I'm gonna go, it's kind of like the OJ situation, right? Like, when his wife was murdered, this dude supposedly was gonna be in on the other side of the country. You know what I mean? So he tried to fly out and and tried to create this alibi. But if you're a mastermind, like, why wouldn't he have went to his office and logged in or something that could have made
if you're that smart,
he wasn't able to do this crime, you know?
Right. If you're that smart to get away with it, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Well, people make mistakes. I'm sorry. Listen, you can like leave 2 minutes down the road and get a fucking flat tire and then your shit's all thrown off. You're not walking out of your fucking apartment and taking your phone with you. Or
that's
leaving your apartment,
the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
And then shutting it off,
especially if
when
you're
on the way.
Guy. Like, yeah, he apparently was studying data forensics, so it's like he would clearly know this, you know.
It's like, come on, bro. You would know.
It doesn't take a rocket
on autoplay at home on the fucking coffee table. You know,
like strap it to your dog and have your dog running around the house so it looks like you're mobile or anything. You know what I mean? Like, you'd figure if this guy is that kind of genius, he literally made two of the biggest mistakes you could possibly make. I don't buy that.
And then you're driving all over both cities, downtowns, all over the place, and there's no license plate, but there's surveillance like a motherfucker around there. Come on now. Come on.
Well, you remember how Olivia, Kaylee's sister, had mentioned that she saw the security footage that showed them getting home at 1:56 and being dropped off. If you saw that, you guys didn't see the intruder? You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been trying to figure out how you saw footage that was clear enough to see them two being dropped off at the home. So you see them go into the home, but you don't see anybody else. So, yeah, obviously they could have went into the back door and all of that, but it just seems highly unlikely. There's so many cameras out there. Somebody had to catch something.
1126 has to have something pointed right at that sliding glass door, man. It has to.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
Has to.
Like, when you look at the vantage point that they have, it's like right there. You know, it's right behind it.
It has to. Because how else are you going to know that they took the dog out?
Yeah, like, you had to see some footage that was clear enough to see them go home, you know, like see them enter the home or get out of the car and walk in that area.
Yeah.
And I don't think she's lying about that, because she was quick to call out the police's timeline and say it wasn't 2 a.m., it was 1:56.
Right. Even when the LinkedIn was deleted, she went to the LE and was like, why are you deleting my sister's LinkedIn account? And they're like, well, we didn't delete it.
Yeah, that was odd. It was like, somebody deleted it. You know, somebody took it offline.
Bro, there's some groups around there, man. There's some groups around there, some sick motherfuckers, that's for sure.
I saw a message or a post in the chat that was asking about the cell tower, and they asked if it could ping up to 22 miles away. Technically, yes, it's possible, but what I'm trying to illustrate here is that the accuracy is so far off that it's not reliable.
Mm-hmm.
So, like the commenter said, you know, there's a 20. Like I've seen it ping up to 45 miles. You know, I've done data forensics and stuff on phones, and I've seen various pings and stuff like that, but it's hard to determine because of it's hard to determine why that happened. There's so many different reasons. You could, the bandwidth could have been full. You could have been out of range. You could be roaming, and the roaming signal prefers this tower. So it's it's hard to say. It's really hard to say like exact location of where they were at. Now, if they can corroborate it with the phone data and say, look, you know, this is showing that his GPS data matches the cell ping data, then okay, now that evidence is corroborated. But without that, you know, you're essentially taking a wild guess. Like the only thing triangulation can really determine accurately in a rural area anyways is direction of travel. So you can know which direction they're going by checking the various pings. So they could tell he was going south, but they don't know definitively where exactly he was on that route when those pings happened. Not without GPS data from his phone.
Right, exactly. And you know, it's like, you know, before, you know, you're like, when it comes to two different towers, you could have one that's a half a mile away, but it's up a hill and has trees in between it, and then there's another one 2.5 miles away and there's no obstructions, and it's, you know, your cell phone's going to ping off that tower. It doesn't go off the closest one. It goes off the one with the strongest network signal. So that's why
usually.
Yeah, it can be confusing when it comes to exactly, you know, what specific location. That's why I kind of want to learn more about this CAS data stuff.
See, the CAS detail is a little more accurate. The problem with it is it sort of has an IgG sort of aspect to it. Like they don't tell you exactly how they, like they don't show the work for it because the FBI does not like to give out their investigative methods. But there was a Supreme Court ruling that allowed the CAS information to be used in court without them having to sort of, you know, explain exactly how they got this data. Because I mean, I work with phones and data all day long, and there's literally no way for them to do that without tapping into a back door. That's the only way to do it, which is highly illegal. You know?
Right. Just
so
like
it's kind of like, did you ever hear the like the whole thing about Eric Snowden, like what he was blowing? He was essentially saying that these tech companies have back doors that law enforcement use, and he exposed it. You know, and he showed how the NSA tap into various like they can get into your phone, turn your camera on, look around, check your GPS, do everything without
like
your permission or without your knowledge.
Like they're you.
They can use your apps, go through your contacts, like everything. And
all that came with
no
9/11
power to it.
All that came with 9/11, with all those basically allowed the Bush administration to be able to do whatever the fuck they wanted when it came to
the Patriot Act essentially shredded the Constitution. It's a way for the government to circumvent all your civil rights simply by labeling you a terrorist. It's as easy as that.
They did it to Aaron Brockovich.
There was a story
earlier this year with East Palestine.
There was a story about a guy who, during the whole aftermath of 9/11, he was working out at a gym and said something anti-Bush or whatever, and somebody called Homeland Security on this guy, and so Homeland Security labeled him a terrorist and essentially locked him up without even charging him, and held him indefinitely until he was finally able to get out. I forget how exactly he got out of it, but they arrested him and threw away all his civil liberties simply because he was labeled a terrorist, based off of a totally legitimate and legal comment that he made at the gym. You know, you have freedom of speech. You can say that you don't like Bush, or you can blame him for whatever you want, and people don't have to agree, but it's not prosecutable.
Right.
But the Patriot Act was designed to circumvent all of those laws, which is why it's dangerous. It's super dangerous.
It is, and that's why he's been on the run. And we kind of we used a clip of Eric Snow a few nights ago, actually, because we were getting into the conversation about can your phone be tracked when it's shut off? Can it still be tracked? And I thought the best thing to show would be something from Eric Snowden, because if anybody knows anything about, uh, like locations and what technology can do, it's this guy right here. I mean, he saw that something wasn't right with what was being done in practice. He said something about it, which you should stand up and say something if something's not happening properly. And then also, he's obviously knows what the hell he's talking about, because you look at his credentials when it came to what he was doing. It's like, damn, bro, you're smart as shit. And the fact that he's been able to basically exist and be able to keep talking about it says a lot. So I thought he was
protected by the Russian government. That's
right.
why he's able to be on Twitter, things like that. Which is like, to your point, the whole situation has credibility because A, the government never wants to deny it, and B, he's like one of the most wanted men in the world. Him and like Julian Assange. And what did both of those guys do? They said, they exposed how dirty the government is and how they throw your civil liberties away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and thank you, Sussin. I appreciate you.
But to answer your question about the phone being off, so
yes,
it depends. It specifically depends on the device. So Apple's iPhone is designed to have a spare battery in it that keeps certain things going. So like if you've ever noticed, your phone could be off and you can still use the Find My iPhone app. And you can literally track the whereabouts of your phone. And that's because there's a spare battery that's designed specifically for that. Not all Android devices have that. Newer ones tend to, but your older models, they don't, the older Androids don't have that feature. Like Apple was sort of the first to introduce it. But could it turn your phone on? I mean, it's possible, I guess. Like if it's off and they want to turn it on, I guess. I mean, I've never seen it done, but hypothetically, yeah, I would think it's possible.
Right. And so when it comes to the pings and stuff, the pings are just like the DNA and all the different practices and what can happen. There's so many possibilities. There's so many for either side, really. And I think that's going to be interesting for the jury. Do you think there's going to be a trial? What's your opinion on that? Because that's a big question going around here in the community the last few days. Do you think there's going to be a trial, even if it is way down the road?
I don't see him pleading guilty, if that's what you're asking. Like I don't see him taking.
Or do you see? Well, I guess either way. Do you see it maybe not being a trial for the other side, where there's just
well, if it's a lack of sufficient evidence or something like that, that's hard to say. Like that would be totally up to the judge. I don't think there's sufficient evidence, in my opinion. Like if I was the DA, I wouldn't have filed charges off rip. I would have made sure I had that confirmation of the DNA first.
Mm-hmm.
I would have made sure that we interviewed them, on the record, and all of that stuff prior to issuing an actual arrest. But I'm not law enforcement. I've never done it, so I don't know why they do what they do. Their methodology has always been questionable, in my opinion.
For sure. Commercial Zone brought up something cool. Says your prototype showing the alleged movements of BK the night of the 13th was very good. Shout out again to you, bro. She says, I would like to see a similar one down to show Rosenthal's and the other cops' movements. That would be an interesting one too. Have you thought about maybe doing something like that, or would you entertain that?
Yeah, if there's data that show that to where I can map it out, yeah, it's possible. I wouldn't be against that, but I haven't seen anything that shows his whereabouts in specific times or locations. Have you?
So, if anybody has any information they can send to you to kind of contribute to that, is there a way that somebody can reach out to you, or just through Twitter? Would you like?
Yeah, they can just DM me on Twitter.
Okay. So yeah,
I'm pretty active and check it.
yeah. So if you have anything and you want to contribute to that project, go ahead and send the architect the information. Just follow him on Twitter and send the information. I think that'd be a really cool.
Yeah, I know there's a few body cams that show him at a location, but I don't think any of them are from that night in particular.
Well, hey, and I still have to go through. That's something I haven't done yet that I wanted to do a couple weeks ago, was go through all these body cams and stuff. So you're more than welcome to join, and on those shows too. Whenever you want to hop up on panel too, I'm sure. I know I'm going to be going through some of these other cases. I'm going to take a break half the time throughout the next week, covering some of these other cases and stuff. So probably towards the end of next week is when I'm going to start doing the body cam deep dive stuff. So if you're available and you'd like to join for those, that'd be sweet too. When it comes
I try not to get like too overwhelmed with too many cases, because when I get it, like this one caught my attention because of a lot of the inconsistencies with the PCA. So immediately I just started, and there was a lot of data involved. So like data is sort of my wheelhouse, and I was kind of looking at the PCA like, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So that got me into this, but I don't normally deep dive on this level into a lot of cases. The Karen Reed case, I've definitely looked into. There's a lot of things that I question, but I haven't really dove into it the way I have with this one. So I don't really speak on that too much, because most of what I think is opinionated. It's not based on a whole lot of facts.
Well, I mean,
so I don't want to put it out there like,
yeah. I mean, we're speculation.
Theories, the big theories, like either the cop did it or right.
Something. We just checked it out a little bit. I was gonna be getting into it here in a little while this afternoon, covering the Karen Reed stuff, and I'm gonna be doing a show coming up here at the beginning of the week. So I'm definitely gonna be getting into it. I know there's a lot of odd shit that's taking place, and I've been reaching out to that Turtle Boy to see if maybe he would want to hop on and or maybe just hang out and have a conversation about it, because if I'm going to learn about the Karen Reed the case, I'd rather learn about it from the people that know the most about it. And so
I'll tell you what, if you can get Sloopy on, she's done some incredible work when it comes to putting all of visualization. She's made all these charts and
I do have
spreadsheets and things like that. And a lot of it is really good information. Like she posted something recently about how many feet it was from the door to where his body was found, which happens to be an exact match to that Jen lady's phone, the phone record. So it's like, whoa, like like that doesn't look good. It's like, and then it goes to show that she was like talking to him on the phone or something to that effect, and then she deleted it. I was like, wow. So I'll definitely dive into that one, especially since we're gonna have a pretty big break in the Kohberger case. Like I don't see it going to trial anytime soon.
No. And there's other cases. I mean, before it got this crazy, the last few months, we were able to take time there, because right now shit is just every day something is coming out, something pops out. And before, we were able to cover a lot of these other cases, and this is one of them, for sure. So I can't wait until you get the microphone, bro. We enjoy having you on the show. Appreciate you, your time that you're offering, and thanks for all the information and the links and everything in the background.
Yeah, definitely,
appreciate that too.
I was actually sending you those because sometimes if you try to play it on YouTube directly, it'll lag, or it'll cause the quality of the image to be not as clear.
Okay.
So I sent you the direct videos if you ever want to use them on the show or whatever. It'll be a lot cleaner.
Appreciate that. Yeah, and I definitely will. Because I'm excited. Once you get your mic, man, I'm excited to have you up here on panel, and then we can not only sit and chit chat, but we can share a lot of these things too. So when we are kind of going to these different things, it's another element to add to the conversation between us. So I'm definitely excited for that. And there's some other ideas. I'm gonna kind of reach out to you here in the near future about maybe doing some collab stuff if you'd be interested. So I'll reach out to you about that stuff in the
Yeah,
background.
man. I'd like
And
that a
great
lot.
work,
I do
bro.
a lot of graphic work,
Yeah,
animation stuff. So like, yeah, we can get busy.
great work, man. Totally appreciate you. Definitely fingers crossed for the mic. Hopefully everything works out. And man,
Yeah, it'll be here Monday, so we should be good.
well, shit, because I was thinking about doing Karen Reed on Monday. If you're not busy Monday night, hop on over, man. And I'm gonna be getting back into Karen Reed just for that night. It's not going to be any other case. It's going to be Karen Reed only.
Okay.
For Monday.
Yeah, I'm down, man.
So.
I'll gather some information, do a little research over the weekend, and
Hell yeah.
I'll be ready.
Sweet. Well, I'll go ahead and put it out there if you're good. If anything happens, I know life. If things change, hit me up. But I will definitely we'll go ahead and do Monday night, Karen Reed, and then yeah, it'll be sweet, man. I appreciate it so much, buddy. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your hard work. Thank you for everything you're doing for the true crime community, your efforts, and just putting the common sense out there and helping people understand things a little easier, especially on Twitter or with the videos that you're starting to come out with on YouTube. So
yeah, man. I mean, I appreciate the love. Like I said, you guys do all the same things. Like your community's awesome. You
thank you.
You do a lot for the victims and like advocating for them and trying to get justice, true justice. Because in my opinion, putting somebody that's the wrong person in jail isn't justice, at all. Like there's still somebody who did this crime. And I'm not saying that I'm not of the camp to say that he's guilty or innocent. That's not my job to determine. That's the jury's job. But the state hasn't convinced me. So until they do, I'm sort of staying kind of in the middle and just allowing it to play out. But from the PCA and the things that we know, it doesn't seem like the strongest case to me.
Oh man, especially when you read all these other PCAs. I was going to read the Long Island SK. I was going to do a video read through of it. I got like not even halfway through it, and I'm like, no. There was just so much, and you look at all these other PCAs, and there's so much in it. Like, yeah, there's so much in it.
I mean, they have so much. Yes, it's not. I mean, there's a lot of circumstantial stuff in there, but if we're to assume that that physical evidence that they had is legit, I mean, he's screwed. He's absolutely screwed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It is. It's a creepy PCA. When I was reading it, I was like, yeah, never mind. I'm not doing it. I'll just self-edit during a live or something sometime if we ever need to read it, but I'm not making a video with it. It was just, no, it was too much.
Yeah, that's hard. It's hard reading, man. It's pretty detailed and like specific.
Even the searches, bro, it's just like, dude, what the hell?
Oh, man, the ones that really fucked me up was the CP stuff. I'm like, oh, wow. Like,
yeah.
The other things that he was searching for, like the victims and stuff like that, and the victims' families, I mean, that's in line with a psychopath. But when they had the other CP stuff going on, I'm like, oh shit, like you're one of these dudes. Like you're on a whole nother level.
Yeah, when you can do that shit to children or anybody for that matter.
Yeah, bro,
especially
that's a whole
children.
Different level of
and then the searches that was being searched too with that case with that topic, it's like, what the fuck, man? That's why I was just like, yeah, no, I can't. It's no, I don't know. No. So
yeah, those are always the hardest cases for me, man. Like dealing with children. It's just like I used to work. I used to do patient monitoring networks. Like I would design them. I used to work for Philips, designing patient monitoring networks for hospitals, and the hardest ones were always doing NICU or like the cancer ward for kids. Like at the pediatrics, it was just heartbreaking, man.
Yeah,
it's so hard to see that. Like you see kids that are abused and kids that are born with drug addictions, and it's just wild.
Yep. So it doesn't matter how hard you got it. There's always somebody that has had it worse or is having it worse, and you just have to keep that in mind and just stay strong no matter what it is, because the right thing will always happen no matter what. But yeah, it's definitely hard. Yeah. Definitely hard. Yeah, photo. I mean, all that stuff. That's why I don't even care to look at that shit. So, but yeah, man,
it's hard, man.
I'm excited. Definitely hit me up. I'll put out a notification a day or two before, and excited to do it.
Okay.
Appreciate it. And
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on.
yeah, thanks for calling in. Thanks for your time. Wow, a freaking hour. Appreciate it. And have a
Yeah,
great
man, it
weekend. And
flew.
hey, if I'm ever live at any time, man, if you ever want to call in, just hit me up on Twitter and or Discord if you're on Discord. And you're more than welcome
Okay,
to call
for
in
sure.
anytime.
I check out your lives as often as I can. So
Yeah, I
I'll
appreciate
rock
it.
with you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, man. Have a good rest of the show, and I'll tune in.
You too. Definitely check out Silky Southern Tea because I'm gonna be on her show later. We're gonna be checking out Dumb
Oh
Criminal
yeah, I
Shit.
enjoyed her earlier.
Yeah.
I definitely will.
Yeah, she's awesome. All right, buddy. Thank you. Can't wait
All right,
to see you
everyone.
Monday
You guys have
or
a
any
good
time
day.
in between.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
All right, later.
Good shit.